Hi there! It's time to use the Wyckoff lens to look at Cardano again. It would be of no surprise if you have been with me for a while, but this, again, a blood red Monday would have scared you if you haven't been around with me. If you're new to my sessions, these are the three key items I'll cover during the session. So let's begin. Cardano dropped by almost 10% as of now. It's finally seemingly entering the selling climax. So previously, I was sharing that it may be a preliminary support period that we have been going through in the past 2-3 weeks. Okay, that little bit of buying with relatively low volume was taking a breath during a long marathon. And today's drop, even though the price spread is kind of, I wouldn't say too large compared to the couple of weeks ago, but still, if we look at the volume, it's not that crazy. Of course, we're just starting at the start of the week. We're less than 17 hours into this weekly candle. We don't know what's going to happen next. But if the volume continues to stay low, even if the price drops further to test the blue key level of 33 cents, we may be very close to the selling climax. So look at what happened over here. During the preliminary support period, there was quite a bit of fluctuation, and then in the end, when the volume continues to come down, finally it reached the selling climax, and then the automatic rally kicks in. Of course, there can be subsequent tests that can go even lower than the selling climax itself. You see the wick over here, it went deeper than that. So last time over here, this accumulation back in 2002-2003, it tested the 24 cents level. If we look at what happened during the week of October 10th, when the tariff announcement came out, it came to a similar level. Not as low as the 24 cents, but still as well between the two blue key levels. All right. So don't be surprised if it really comes down to lower than the 33 cents. Expecting the selling climax to appear, and then the automatic rally to come. So you have seen me adjusted all these tags to bigger sizes. So if you're watching on a mobile device, it hopefully looks better to you now. And because I've taken a lot of time doing this, I haven't got time to put in some of the interesting stuff that I've prepared. So it's time to put together with you. Okay, these are the behaviors, what actually happening during those Wyckoff stages. And we are going through the panic sell, while we will say, oh, it's time to dip our foot in and get a bit of stock underneath our shelter. Okay, so we're going through this period. PS doesn't mean panic sell, okay, by the way. PS for Wyckoff is preliminary support. It's just a coincidence that, I'm putting in panic sell and it looks like it's referring to that. It's not, okay? And selling climax is basically the panic is over. There is going to be subsequent tests, okay? I did mention the lower price levels. I haven't put in the tag over. Oh yeah, it's here. It's hiding it way lower. Okay, so those tests, when we get to that stage, we are not there yet. We are just trying to get to the panic over stage, and then the automatic rally probably going to define the sideways trading area or zone, the top of the zone. So after that was defined, or that is defined, during 2002-2003, after the automatic rally defined the top of the trading range, the price came down for what we call second test or subsequent test. It is basically to try out whether there are still weak hands over there, or are they all diamond hands that they're not going to sell any further. So that's the period that we haven't yet gone through for Cardano. And then Okay, these are, the blue ones are the distribution cycle behavior. Let's finish with this one first, the accumulation cycle, because those are the ones that we will probably go through in the next couple of weeks or months, depending on how quickly this accumulation cycle finishes. Sometimes it lasts for a year or two. Sometimes it can be as quick as a couple of months. Alright, so sign of strength, it's advancement with volume. You see these white bars getting much higher than before. Okay, so that's those sign of strength period. Alright, that's all for accumulation, and let's move on to okay, one more thing actually. I've just been adding this, so I'll have to add a couple more when I see if something is missing. During the spring or the backup stage is like the final shakeout. Is there anyone already felt enough with the sign of strength and it's going to scare them away with these kind of backup or like a spring deep, very low. But then if you look at the volume, is actually until the point it can't go any further, that's when the big guys pull the trigger. Let's drive the people crazy. So actually, when the price first surge, preliminary supply, PSY, it's where the whales first do their selling, and then retail FOMO continues till the very top. And then subsequently there will be other tests, people trying to buy those dips, but getting in late. Alright. Whether it's an upthrust or upthrust of distribution or second test or test, it doesn't matter. It's just basically people getting in late until they realize that, okay, the whales have been offloading all along, since those period as well as these last point of supply period. Okay, so those are the behaviors that's happening around those Wyckoff stages. And let's get to the daily chart and see what additional we can find. So this light blue box, if you have been with me, you know what this is. If you're new, sometimes I call this the air hockey table. Sometimes I call that an upward or sideways or downward channel or channel box. So why I call this an air hockey table? Imagine this is the traveling path. The price actions are the traveling path of the puck, in the air hockey game. It basically bounces off between the edges of the table. Alright, so that's why I give it that name. And not only between the ceiling and the bottom, there is actually a center line as well, that the prices sometimes will basically bounce off from that particular line. So there we go. It doesn't have to cut the box exactly in half. It goes where the most frequent candlestick heads or tails you can find, within the box. So you see, since end of October 30th, it bounces once, second, and then bounces the ceiling. The third time, just a week ago, bounces off the center line, trying to stay above this blue dash line. So whenever you see dash line, I call those intermediate support or resistance levels. Okay, intermediate levels. They are not as strong as the key levels. Okay, so that's why you see the price take a pause around those dash lines. But then, when the trend really kicks in, they are only going to find more solid support, or they're going to hit very solid resistance, like what happened during October, around those key levels, those solid lines. Okay, so we are trying to see whether we are, approaching the selling climax actually after that crazy period. Alright, so in the daily chart, I haven't changed the sizes yet. I'll do this over time because that's just too much. Even just doing weekly, it's going to take a while. Alright, so similar thing. If we're entering or getting close to a selling climax. Not sure whether it's going to end up at the 33 cents, the blue solid line level, or is it going to end somewhere around 24 cents, around the light blue line. And irrespective of where it's going to land to, even if it goes to the white line over there, around 5 cents. Okay, it didn't happen for 5 years already. It was 2019, 2020 back then. Not expecting it to get to that low. That would be a little bit alarming. So hopefully the worst case is to get to the 24 cents and then stop over there. If it stops higher, then it's the better scenario. One thing though, even though the drop is high, the volume as of now, at least for today's candle, it isn't as high as the one we had on the 21st. Okay, last Friday, the Friday before actually. So let's observe. We won't have another session in a week. For the next few days, if the volume continues to go high, that means this isn't over yet. However, if it drops really, really low, then it may be where the selling climax is going to appear. Of course, I did mention that there can be subsequent tests that can go lower. Alright, so if it is really a selling climax, expect the automatic rally would kick in and we may see a little bit of rebound. Just that may not be the leg upward and everybody will be happy ever after there's a rebound. There can be more tests and shakeouts. So breakout time points. One relatively positive among these negative days is that it's still trading on the stronger side of the channel. Meaning, if you look at this, it's still trading on the upper half of the channel. Alright, I call this the stronger side because this is providing us insights that these points somewhere in the middle of this month, December, or near the end of the month, are going to be some breakout opportunities, because when the price trades towards these triangles, it's a decision point basically. If the support is strong enough, it's going to break outside of this downtrend. Even if it's going to trade sideways, it's still better than a downtrend. Alright? If the support isn't strong enough, that's a decision or a signal that this downtrend is going to continue and it's going to test the next key level. Alright, so those points or those triangles are key. And we're not too far from that. We're roughly about 2 weeks from the first one, and then another 2 weeks for the next one. So let's see how that would go. This period, is difficult. It's been testing our patience. It's probably not enjoyable unless you are shorting certain projects or crypto. Alright, so that's pretty much it for Cardano. Hope you liked the new elements I added in. If I miss any, I'll add it over time because I can only do that much in a day, and I cover 8 projects on every single day except my rest day, and also except Saturday where I really go live and chat with you. Alright, thanks for joining me. See you in the next session.